I got a confession to make. Movies don't scare me at all. Not even so-called scary movies like The Exorcist, The Shining, or The Conjuring. They don't get a rise out of me at all. There has actually only been 2 movies that have ever gave me a feeling close to being scared. One I will review at a later time, but to me, the scariest film of all was the original Evil Dead. Granted, I was a kid when I saw the 2 movies that scared me, but still, anyone who knows me knows how big an accomplishment that is. I came home from Bible school of all things a long time ago. I think it was about 2004. And I watched the Evil Dead trilogy back to back to back. The first time I saw the Evil Dead was one of the best surreal experiences of my viewing life. And I will always hold it dear to my heart because of this. Honestly, the beginning of the film was kind of bland and a little boring, but it's just setting you up. Once it gets going, it's like a roller coaster ride that doesn't stop till the merciful end of the film. And it all gets started with the tree scene. I have never seen a tree used this way. Never would have thought it was possible. I won't spoil it for you, but all you guys who've seen it know what I'm talking about. Once this scene comes, there's no turning back. Forget about the great slapstick comedy of Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. There is none of that here. This film is humorless and is nothing but a balls-to-the-wall horror film. In fact, the gore is so graphic that it narrowly missed an X rating, and it was banned in England for decades as a charter member of the so-called video nasties. You see Ash for the first time here, and if you did, you would think, what was all the fuss about? Because frankly, this is the worst Ash we see, both acting-wise, because Campbell hadn't found his macho comic shtick yet, and in Betrayal. Now, we know Ash is the greatest anti-hero this side of Vegeta, but here he is just a nice average guy, even a bit cowardly, as he can't even bring himself to hurt the demons originally, because they're in his friends' bodies. In fact, Scott, the other dude in the movie, is actually the take-charge guy here, and Ash doesn't fight back until he's forced against the wall and has to survive. I think this episode made him snap and turn him into the great character we now know. You know the Spider-Man trilogy? Those fun movies with Tobey Maguire as the webbed hero? Well, guess what? They were made by Sam Raimi, who made this graphic horror film, and also the other 2 classic films in the trilogy. He got his start here, and as much as I love Spidey, he never topped these films. To me, this film is a perfect horror film. By this, I don't mean it has no flaws, because it does. I mean the 2 purposes of horror films is to either scare you or provide great gore or kills. This film succeeds brilliantly at both. More than any other film I've ever seen, this film combines those 2. Why is the movie so scary to me? Why is the scene where the demons first show themselves with the card trick before their voices go from normal to demonic and they turn around to show themselves the scariest scene ever? At least to me, anyway. Well, it has to do with the brilliant makeup of the Deadites, but also the demonic, distorted voices. The demons here are almost childlike, but also incredibly violent and malevolent. They're like super evil, retarded children with a kind of violent innocence, if that makes any sense. So yes, in my opinion, this film is the scariest film ever made. Really, this is just a combination of Night of the Living Dead and The Exorcist. I consider the 1980s to be the best era for horror, and in horror's greatest era, this is horror's greatest film.